Welcome to the Wolves Den, and the third episode in a series I am doing on custom figures I have made for the modern G.I. Joe line. And in this episode, we're going to be taking a look at some of the more simple customs I have done. Some people might not even consider these customs. They might call them just head swaps or kit bashes. It's basically figures I took and maybe I did just change the head and a few accessories or whatnot to create a new figure. So let's just get started and take a look at these figures. The first figure I have for you today is Recon Duke, and he is probably the simplest custom I have for you today in that he is just a head swap, or in this case a head and hat swap onto another body. The head does come from the Pursuit of Cobra Recon Duke, which was a really big figure. They made Recon Duke into this hulking muscular guy, but the articulation on that figure was just really bad. But I did like the head sculpt, and I wanted a Recon Duke figure, and I thought the Jungle Duke was a good base figure, so I just popped the head on there, and I thought it was a really good look. So Recon Duke being a jungle survivalist expert, I thought, it worked out quite well. Because I never really did like the safari outfit Recon Duke. I mean, Recon Duke was a cool character, but I just never liked that look, and I really like the way this turned out, so I think this is a good look for Recon Duke. Next up we have Airborne, and he's always been a favorite character of mine. And while I liked the 25th anniversary figure, it was probably one of the better 25th anniversary figures, I still think he could have been better, and so that's why I came up with this. Basically, it was just me noticing that the Steel Brigade figure, his color scheme kind of reminded me of the classic Airborne. It wasn't exact, obviously, but just the color scheme reminded me of Airborne. So I took some of the 25th anniversary Airborne parts. Specifically, you can see his head here, his backpack, his helmet, and his gun. Put those on the body, and then I got a piece of web gear and the leg straps from a couple different Snake Eyes figures, I believe. And I just meshed all those parts together, and I thought it looked really good. I really like the way this figure turned out. Next up we have Rock and Roll, who's another favorite character of mine, but who hasn't really had a good figure in the modern line. The only figure I can think of was the 25th anniversary one, and that's really not that good of a figure. So I've tried over the years different variations of parts to try to come up with a decent Rock and Roll, and this is the one that I've settled on that I like the most. You can probably see he has a lot of Marauder parts on him. The vest with the pouches on there. The gun is Marauders. He's got a knife on his back, which is also Marauders. The hat here, these are really nice hats. They're from Marauder also. They're really flexible plastic. They fit on different heads really well. So they did a really nice job with those hats. The body is a Retaliation Joe Colton body. And the head is actually a Marvel Universe Thunderstrike head. And I thought it made for a really good looking Rock and Roll. The only thing I had to do is, I don't know if you can tell here, but I had to cut off the ponytail. So you might be able to see where I cut off the ponytail on the back of his head there. The last two G.I. Joe figures I have for this video are a couple of ninjas. They're apprentices to Jinx. Over here we have Lotus, who is just a Retaliation Jinx body with the head of a Star Wars Rey figure. And that's pretty much all there is to her, so I'm going to move her aside. This one we have is Silk, and it's the Retaliation Jinx body, and it's the head of the Black Cat from Marvel Universe. And I actually had to do a little work on that black head sculpt. So let's take a little closer look. As you can maybe see, she normally has a black mask going around her eyes, and as you can maybe see, I had to do a lot of work to wear that mask off. A lot of scraping and rubbing and whatnot just to wear that thing off to that's just down to the skin tone. So from a distance you can't really tell she ever had a mask, but up close you can see where it was supposed to be. So, and then I painted in some white eyebrows there. So just so she has a more normal human look as opposed to a superhero. Next, since she has such long hair, and the hair covers the peg hole in the back, I had to craft this harness. So I just used some string from some of the Retaliation Ninjas, because they came with these different grappling hooks and stuff, so they had some long string. So I cut some of the string and super glued kind of a loop there together and, you know, pegged it in, and I thought it looked pretty cool just the way it kind of hangs there. You know, just something different, you know, something other than just being pegged into the back. So I thought, you know, that worked out pretty well. The next figure I have is Raptor, and if you're looking at this figure and thinking this is not the character I know and love with his goofy bird costume, you'd be absolutely correct. This is not that character. This is actually a new character I came up with. I just stole the name. This character happens to be the leader of the ninja clan that I talked about in my last video when I showed you the character Raven. This character just has an affinity for birds, so most of his lieutenants in his ninja army will have bird names such as Raven. And so essentially this figure is just made up of the pursuit of Cobra Zartan. That's where the, you know, the staff and the bird come from, and the belt with the knives there. The shoulder sash or belt or whatever that is exactly called comes from one of the Dollar General Storm Shadows. And the head is from the Thor Hogan figure. So I just thought he was an imposing looking character and made for a good leader of some evil ninjas. The first Cobra figure I have is an Iron Grenadier, and he's made up of quite a few different things. First off, his helmet is an Iron Grenadier helmet from the 30th anniversary figure. Those figures were these kind of big bulky figures that came with a giant machine gun. Well, I thought they were cool. I kind of wanted more basic Iron Grenadiers, which is why I came up with this figure. So that's where the head is from. The body is mostly a Renegades Firefly figure. That's where the body and the vest are from. I just removed the knife that was hanging off the vest there. I took that off. And the feet and the hands, I don't remember where they're from, but I took those off some other figures because normally they were like gray hands, gray gloved hands, and these gray boots. So I just used some other boots from, I think, some Cobra Troopers or something. I don't remember where I got the hands and feet from, but they are different hands that were on the body. And also I painted the knees black because they were white, because I thought the black looked better. The final figures I have for this video are some Cobra Soldiers that were experimented on and turned into these snake people. We have Lamia here. Over here we have Scylla. And in the middle, Medusa. And they have nothing to do with Cobra La, which, if you guys don't know, is the villains basically from the original G.I. Joe movie from the 80s. I didn't like the concept of Cobra La at all, but I did like the concept of some Cobra trying to make actual snake people and doing experiments, and this was the result. The base figures here are all from Boss Fight Studios' Greek mythology line, just some of the different snake women they made. The vests and the helmets all come from Marauders. The weapons are just some extra Joe weapons that I had. And Medusa, let me move the other two out of the way. Medusa actually has her sunglasses here are from a Rise of Cobra Baroness, and the head isn't actually the normal Medusa head, it's the pre-curse Medusa head. And lastly, on Medusa here I used the gun case from the Valkyries. I didn't really like the gun case, but I managed to turn it into a makeshift quiver, and I actually like the results. You can actually fit a couple different arrows in there, so it's a nice little quiver. Even though it's not its normal use, I think it turned out pretty well. These are figures I've wanted to make ever since they were first revealed on Kickstarter, and finally I was able to, with the Valkyries being released, able to finally put them together and make actual, snake soldiers. So I really like the way these figures turned out. I hope you all enjoyed this look at some of the more simple customs that I've made over the years, and I hope to see you soon for the next video where I take a look at what I did with the second wave of Marauder Valkyries figures. That should be a much shorter video because there's only 3 figures to show in that one. And then my final video will be the 4 figures that I made that I did a bit more work on. So until then, thanks for watching.